Afternoon and welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon for the Risk and Liability for Management Consultants Navigating Coverage and Claims webinar. My name is Allison Watcher. I'm the Manager of Member Services here at CMC-Canada, and we really appreciate you all joining us today. Today, CMC-Canada's Insurance Partner Program with BMS will review the range of comprehensive insurance products available to members and help you to better understand the available liability insurance and how this helps to address common areas of exposure for management consultants. We encourage you to participate and engage with our presenters. We enabled the Q&A function, so if you have any questions, please feel free to type them out throughout the presentation. They'll be answering them throughout, and we'll also have a Q&A at the very end of the presentation today to answer any of your questions. We're also going to be recording this session, so we'll be following up with an email afterwards with the recording and the presentation and any further information that we can include for you all. With us today, we have Chelsea Carey and Brent Cartwright, from BMS. Chelsea is the director at BMS Canada as the leader of the member services team. Chelsea works closely with CMC Canada and its members and continues to play an integral role in the ongoing development of the insurance program. Brent is the account manager within BMS Canada's affinity team and has been in the role for more than 2 years. Brent works directly with members daily to assist with a wide range of insurance-related inquiries as an account manager. Brent is also involved with the planning, implementation, and execution of the renewal process for various programs such as the CMC Canada Insurance Program. So welcome, Chelsea and Brent. We really appreciate you guys joining us today, and I'll let you take it away.
Perfect, thank you. Let me share my screen here and we'll get the presentation started. All right, how's that look?
Looks great.
Perfect.
Thanks for the intro, Allison. Brent and I are really looking forward to being here with everyone today. We heard there's an awesome turnout, which is always nice to hear because not everyone wants to spend a sunny summer afternoon listening to insurance, but we are insurance nerds over here, so that's what we like to do. So hopefully we can keep this entertaining and keep you guys engaged. As Allison mentioned, feel free to drop your questions into the chat at any point. We'll try to answer them throughout where it makes sense, but we've also left some time at the end to answer questions. We're also aware that not everyone likes to participate in these sessions, so we'll be providing our contact information at the end as well, where you can send your questions directly to us, so you can hold on to those if you don't want to share it today. All right, so that is a little bit, Allison gave you a bit of background about Brent and I specifically, but I do want to chat about BMS before we kind of move on. So BMS Canada Risk Services, we are a specialty insurance brokerage. So our firm specifically deals with association programs, so similar to the CMC Canada program, and specifically in relation to errors and omissions or professional liability coverage. So the coverage that we're dealing with and the questions we get on a daily basis are very specific to these group programs similar to yours. So today we're going to go over the kind of main driver of the program, which is the errors and omissions coverage, and then we'll get into some of the optional kind of business coverages. So this screen just outlines some of the key points we'll be going over. So risks facing management consultants, the CMC Canada program specifically. So exactly what your policy covers. If you are already a policyholder or kind of interested in coverage, we're going to kind of go over that. And then the optional coverages on the program. Thanks, Brent. So while all members in the program are providing consulting services, we know that the types of clients and the businesses that you're working with obviously vary. So the examples we'll be going over today are common examples that we've seen or hypothetical situations, but we know it's not going to be relevant for everyone. So that's why we have left the question period open for you guys to contact us. So we do typically recommend speaking with a broker to go over your specific practice situation in order for us to better advise what coverage is needed for you and your business. So today, like I said, we'll be providing some case studies and then going over some specific situations. So as a management consultant, you do provide a range of services, but the items listed on this screen are examples that could affect your specific insurance needs. So specifically, if you deliver a range of professional services to clients, if you lease or own a commercial office space, if you're interacting with clients in person or virtually, if you are storing client information electronically or even in kind of paper form, which I know is not as common these days. If you employ staff or engage contractors, there's specific coverages kind of that we recommend for that. And then also there's coverages to help you navigate the continued changes in legislation and your overall kind of contractual requirements. Thanks, Brent. So specifically in relation to the program, we offer competitive premiums. So because this is a group program, we're able to leverage the volume of the program with the insurer or the insurance company to decrease costs. So in addition, because of our partnership with the association, they hold us accountable to ensuring that members receive the best rates. So we do all kind of the legwork for you in terms of researching the best costs with the association, and that's what's presented to members of CMC-Canada. So with respect to market leading coverage, we work with the association again to ensure we're offering the best coverage to their members, and we work with the insurer to fully understand the risks involved with the members of that particular association. With respect to the simple, secure technology to purchase coverage within minutes, if you are already a policy holder, you have gone through our online application form. So it only takes a few minutes to kind of fill out the form itself, and then a quote is generated from the system and you're able to pay for it kind of directly online. So that's kind of an added benefit of the program. Sometimes there'll be some kind of back and forth with the insurer, but it's all done through our online portal, which is quite easy to navigate. The next point is risk management resources. So similar to this webinar, we have put on other webinars for the association throughout our time being the broker. We also do put out some additional risk management resources, whether it's an article or a brochure to provide to members. And typically we're talking about trends or kind of hot topics that we're seeing in the industry. During COVID, we spoke a lot about virtual practice and what that meant for individuals who are continuing to provide service to their clients. But if we're seeing specific claims trends, these are the types of things we would put out in terms of resources for you. So that's kind of an added benefit of the program. Specialized service. So our team of brokers specialize in errors and omissions coverage or professional liability and these group programs as noted. So we're not dealing with a car insurance policy one day and a home insurance policy the next. We're very much specialized in this area. So guaranteed the question that you're calling in to give us, we've heard before. And because we deal with your members, we're very familiar with exactly what you're doing as part of your practice. And then lastly, additional products. So Brent will get into this further down in the presentation, but it's not just the professional liability that we offer or the errors and omissions, although that is kind of the coverage that people come to us most asking about, or that we'll see come up in contractual requirements, but we do offer kind of a wide range of products. So we'll get into those later, and that will kind of help you understand if they might be needed for your particular practice situation. All right, moving on. Hope everyone's still awake over there. Okay, so why should I hold errors and omissions insurance coverage? So as a management consultant, you can be found legally responsible for the professional errors, omissions, or negligent acts associated with your work as a management consultant. So claims can be made against you. So if your advice causes or even is alleged to have caused a client to suffer a financial loss, you might be found liable in court and have to pay them compensation. So that's when your E&O policy would come into play. So here we've put together a case study on how the coverage would respond in this particular situation. Again, we're using kind of our past knowledge of claims, but because management consulting is such a wide range of kind of clients and services that you offer, it's going to differ for everybody, but this is the case study that we have put together. So you have been hired by a manufacturer to evaluate operational efficiencies and provide recommendations to streamline production and reduce staffing costs. You recommend a plan that introduces a new staffing model and supply chain management process, but several key suppliers for the manufacturer change after the plan is created. You provide revised recommendations, but the client ignores them. This results in a delay, and the plan takes 18 months to implement, during which several key employees resign out of frustration with the process. The client then sues you, alleging you did not fully investigate the supply chain issues and you made a plan with unrealistic assumptions. An investigation found that the revised recommendations you provided were not communicated in writing, and the written reporting during this phase was not sufficient enough to fully defend you. As such, you resolve the matter prior to trial, but you must cover the cost of the settlement of $250,000 and defense of $110,000. This is where your E&O coverage comes into play. So in this situation, the E&O is designed to cover both the legal defense costs and any settlements and awards and damages awarded. Okay, perfect. So under the CMC-Canada program, we've outlined a few of the coverage highlights. So again, if you're shopping around for coverage, there are some key elements within a policy that we recommend kind of looking out for. So we've outlined some of those here. So firstly, there are flexible limit options. This means you can select your own limit of coverage. We do often get asked which limit is recommended or required, but at the end of the day, that is up to the member themselves. Sometimes a specific limit will be required for a contract, so we do recommend looking into this first before proceeding with the application. And we're also happy to do a contract review. So we do get those often, and we'll review the insurance section specifically if you need a contract reviewed. The next one is network security, privacy, liability, and cyber event costs. So there is a $250,000 limit that's included within the E&O policy. So that is an added benefit. Not all E&O policies will include that. We also have an enhanced cyber security option that's available, and Brent will speak to that in the coming slides. Joint venture and partnership liability. This means that under the definition of insured, a joint venture and a partnership are included at no cost. The defense costs are in addition to the policy limits. And there's a worldwide coverage territory. We've received this question a lot since COVID, with more and more individuals providing services virtually and to clients and businesses that are outside of Canada. You are able to provide services outside of Canada with this policy. However, your business must be domiciled in Canada, and the claims must be brought forward in Canada as well for the policy to respond. Coverage extends to your business name. So most other policies will charge additional premium to have your business included, and this is included at no cost. So again, another kind of added benefit. And then lastly, breach of confidentiality is included. Okay, so next I'll introduce you to Brent, and he will kind of discuss some of our optional business coverages. So again, if you have gone through the application process with BMS, or you are a policyholder, you've likely spoken to Brent at some point in the process. We also have a team of kind of 10 brokers that work under both Brent and I on the CMC-Canada program. So we will provide the contact information again at the end if you want to reach out to the team with any questions. Okay, go ahead, Brent. You are on mute, Brent.
There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, and we're back. So yeah, thanks, Chelsea. So like Chelsea touched on, the errors and omissions is the primary kind of coverage in the program. This is the one where essentially, every management consultant would want, or at least want to consider having. But we do provide a number of other coverages. So I'm going to go through each of those and kind of explain who they would apply to, what they would cover, and go through some examples as well. So the first coverage I'm going to touch on is commercial general liability insurance. So the brief description is to cover for third-party bodily injury and property damage. So this coverage would be recommended primarily for business owners and independent contractors. So essentially the only person who likely wouldn't need this coverage would be like a full-time employee of a business. Now, the reason we say that is because the business that you're working for, in theory, should have commercial general liability in place already, and it would typically extend to its employees. So if you are an employee of a business, we would still recommend that you verify with your employer to ensure that they do have that coverage in place, because if they don't, it may be something that you would want to consider as well. Some examples of this coverage and what it would apply, or when it would apply. So there's two kind of facets to it. There's the bodily injury side and then the property damage side. So bodily injury, a common example would be if a client were to slip and fall in your office, they're coming in for a meeting, they trip on a wire, they fall, they break their arm, and they then wanted to pursue the business or the individual for the damages that caused. Property damage side, it could be if, again, you go to a client's office for a meeting and you damage their property, they want to hold you liable for the property damage that you caused. Another example would be if you're leasing an office space. So if you're renting an office space, you damage the building itself and the landlord wants to pursue you to cover those damages. So those are a few of the examples. And then this, similar to the E&O, will cover the legal expenses relating to defending yourself in that lawsuit, as well as the actual settlements, the costs of the damages themselves. Now we're going to jump into the cyber security and privacy liability. So again, Chelsea mentioned in the errors and omissions, there is a limit of $250,000 automatically included. However, we do provide an additional option that's a little bit more of an extensive coverage with a higher limit. So I'll go into the cyber. So just to give you a bit of background here, so cybercrime is a major problem for Canadian small to medium-sized businesses. A recent report by the Insurance Bureau of Canada found that 1 in 5 had been affected by a cyber attack or data breach in the previous 2 years. About 44% said they had no defenses, while 37% estimated that incidents cost them more than $100,000. And nearly 2/3 so that they had no insurance in place at all to help recover those costs. So with the advancements in technology, we're seeing these types of claims more and more common, and the attacks are becoming more and more sophisticated, harder to detect. So that's why we provide, or we offer, this extended cyber coverage. So below I'm going to go through a few just examples of some kind of best practice to help protect yourself against these types of attacks. So it says, do you or does your business regularly back up critical data to an offline location that would be unaffected by an issue with your live environment? So for example, if you're storing, client information on a cloud-based service or on your computer, it's important to have it also backed up to a second offline location, such as a hard drive. So for example, if then your computer was hacked and all that information was taken, you have it kind of as a backup somewhere else where you can still access that information. Using a multi-factor authentication for cloud-based services is also just, again, another kind of added protection. An example of this, when I log into my computer here in the office, I get a notification on my phone that I need to confirm that this is me logging in. It just adds that second step, that extra layer of protection. Similar is if you can access your environment remotely. So if you're able to access all the files, all the data on your computer from anywhere around the world, using a laptop, for example, It's important to do so through a virtual private network, a VPN. Again, it just adds that second layer of protection. And then the last point here is to regularly do cybersecurity awareness training, including anti-phishing as an example, as those are the most common cyber attacks. So these 4 kind of points here are really just recommendations on best practice to prevent cyber attacks. However, if you do opt to add the additional cyber coverage, these become they're required that you meet these points and that you do these things as a business or as an individual in order to be eligible for coverage. Again, these are things that the insurer has put in place to better protect you and your business from cyber attacks. And now I'm going to get into the actual cyber coverage itself and kind of the components of that. So
Right,
another
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Before we move on, we do have a question for general liability. So I'll pose that to you, and then there's a second one. So does commercial general liability apply if I'm traveling for business outside of Canada?
Yeah, it does. So it is similar to the E&O would be worldwide. And so the general liability, it's a great question. It would be for you as an individual or your business. It isn't tied to one specific location. So if you do rent an office and you have the general liability, it's not only for what happens in that office. If you go to a client's home, if you are, outside of your office, it would still apply. So yeah, great question. It's not only limited to one location. It would follow you around where you're operating.
Perfect. The next question is, I'll take this one because it was on one of the kind of previous slides, but is there an option to have claims heard in other countries if the client is located outside of Canada and insists on having claims heard in their jurisdiction? So typically, I would say that that's not going to be covered. So we are a Canadian licensed brokerage, so we often don't provide coverage outside of Canada. But with that being said, some of our insurers do provide limited coverage outside of the country. So if you're doing one project, for example, that's going to be outside of the country, we can always refer that to them for their kind of final position on that piece. But in terms of a permanent out of country solution, that wouldn't be something that we could offer through the program. I hope that answers those questions, but keep them coming in, guys. That's great. Thanks so much. And Brent, I'll let you keep going.
Yeah, no, perfect. Yeah, just jump in anytime if any other questions pop up. Okay, so back to the cyber. So this is just another example here at the top. When checking your email, you accidentally click on a malicious link. This installs malware on your laptop, potentially exposing the confidential client information you store on that device. So I'm sure some of you have seen these types of emails. You get an email, it says it's from your finance manager, and you need to click this link to view, this statement, for example, and it's actually a malicious link. It was a fraudulent email, and then now there could be a breach on your computer. So to go over the specific highlights of the cybersecurity coverage, the additional one, it has a $1 million aggregate limit, whereas the coverage included automatically in the E&O is $250,000, so a much higher limit there. And it'll cover the costs involved with the regulatory proceeding relating to the violation of a privacy law, including penalties. So again, if that breach of privacy does violate a privacy law and you now need to defend yourself, maybe penalties you need to pay, it can cover that sort of thing. There's also coverage included in there for business interruption. So if you do suffer a cyber attack and you need to close the business for a week because you need to fix your systems, try to recover the data, you need to defend yourself in front of the Privacy Commission. So based on those things, you need to close the business for a few days or for a week. There is business interruption coverage included in that as well. Cyber extortion is another item that can be covered. If you were to suffer a cyber attack and the attacker essentially froze your systems, stating that they'll unfreeze it if you pay them a certain sum of money, there is coverage for that type of incident as well. And then the last two, third-party liability for privacy breaches and first-party data protection. And one of the big components too, so for this coverage, we work with Beasley, which is one of the leading insurers in the cybersecurity space. And one of the big advantages is they provide a breach response team. So as opposed to just submitting a claim to get the expenses paid or reimbursed to you for all these different items, they actually have a team that'll assist you with the entire process. So they can help notify all your affected clients. They can help to try to recover the data that was lost, fixing the errors on your system, kind of everything involved with that type of breach. They have a response team that can actually help you with the entire process. So moving on to the legal services package and insurance. So we have two different products available on the legal side. First one being the legal services package. So the legal services package provides affordable access to legal advice for CMC-Canada members. So there's a couple different components to this option as well. So the first being the telephone legal advice line. So CMC-Canada members have unlimited access to the legal system at any time to ask general business or personal legal questions. So a few key things on this is it's unlimited in terms of the amount of times you can call. So you can give them a call, ask them any legal questions that you have, and it can be relating to your business, to your services as a management consultant, or it can even be for personal matters. So if you have a question about, a legal situation in your personal life, you can ask them questions about that as well. And then they also can do contract review and legal. They have a legal document center. So you're able to send a legal document, they can review it and provide you with some feedback or some comments. You would also gain access to a legal document library where you can view a number of different documents. They have templates you can use, articles, kind of things like that you get access to with this service. Second legal option is the legal expense insurance. So this product here is an actual insurance policy to cover legal expenses. So the last one being more of a service, you can call and speak to a lawyer, but this option here is an actual insurance policy to cover legal expenses. So within this option, there's the family and the business legal solutions. So this could cover legal expenses relating to a number of different items that would be unrelated to the services you're providing as a management consultant. So like Chelsea touched on earlier, if you're sued based on the services you're providing as a management consultant, that'll be covered through the E&O. This would be for anything kind of outside of that scope. So there's a list of examples there: consumer contracts, property, personal injury, and so on. So an example being and again, there's the family and the business. So if you have a property dispute with your neighbor at home based on, your property lines, and you need to hire a lawyer to assist with that dispute, this can cover the expenses relating to that. On a similar note for the business, if you're in the middle of a dispute with your landlord over your lease agreement or something along those lines, and you need to hire a lawyer, it can cover the legal expenses relating to that. So again, it's for things unrelating to your actual services that you're delivering, but there could obviously still be legal expenses that you incur for a variety of reasons. Another big difference and advantage with this option is it can cover legal expenses in the event you were to pursue a third party. So kind of on the flip side of the general liability, if you were, for example, in a restaurant and you slip and fell and you injured yourself and you wanted to pursue that restaurant for damages, this coverage could cover the legal expenses relating to that type of incident as well. Moving on to the business package. So this coverage here is for your physical office space. So again, this one would be for one specific location. So if you're renting an office space and you want to protect the physical contents of that office, so this would be to cover any furniture, equipment, desks, chairs, filing cabinets, computers, improvements and betterments as well. So if you've done renovations to your office space and you wanted to protect it in the event there was a fire and all of your contents were damaged, this would cover you for that type of loss, and it would replace the contents that were damaged. There's also a component of crime coverage in a business package. So if based on a crime there was damage to your property, so there was a break-in or vandalism and it led to your contents being damaged, it could cover that as well. So again, this is another option to consider if you're a business owner renting a space and you have expensive furniture and you've done renovations and you want to make sure you're covered, we can provide that type of coverage as well. Employment practices liability. So this is going to be the last one that I go over here. So this coverage would be recommended for business owners who have staff, who have contractors, other management consultants working for them. And it covers you in the event that your staff were to make a claim towards the business. So this could be for things like wrongful termination, workplace harassment, workplace discrimination. So if there was a lawsuit made by one of your staff towards the business, this would cover the business. Again, like you see at the bottom, for legal defense costs, as well as damages awarded and settlement costs. So I'll go through this quick example here. As a result of ongoing performance issues, you make the difficult decision to terminate one of your employees. Your former employee alleges that her termination was due to her age and is suing your business for lost wages and damages related to loss of dignity. So this coverage, again, would cover the legal costs associated with defending the business, as well as any damages that were awarded based on that claim. So the last slide here.
Sorry, I just had another question that came through that I'll ask you in relation to kind of office coverage. And it's a great question, Catherine, and a super common one. So my office landlord asked to be added to our policy as a named party as a condition of the lease. Is that common?
Yeah, great question. And like Chelsea mentioned, something very common. We see that all the time in lease agreements. So what they're referring to is being added as an additional insured, which is what we see most common. And that would actually be tied to, I'll come back to the property side because it can relate to this as well, but the most common one is being added as an additional insured, which actually relates to the commercial general liability. And what that does is it provides limited liability to your landlord in the event that you're liable for a third-party bodily injury or property damage. An example of that being if, again, a client of yours came into your office that you're leasing and they slip and fell, they injured themselves, and they pursued you because they're your client, they're coming to see you. But if they were to also pursue the owner of the building because they're in their building, adding them as an additional insured essentially means that they'll be covered through your policy for something that you're liable for. So again, if it was because there was a cord in your office, but your client still wanted to pursue the landlord, they would be covered through your policy if you were deemed liable for that incident. So that's very common that we see that in lease requirements. We see that very often, but we do also see where they will require you to have some form of property coverage as well. So they may require that you have a certain limit of contents coverage for the items that you own in the event that there's a fire and your items are damaged. We see that as well. And just kind of further to Chelsea's note from earlier, we're happy to assist with those. If you have a specific section of your lease agreement that's relating to insurance, we're happy to review that with you. You can send it over to us directly. We can confirm that all the items are met or advise what coverage you need to add to ensure that those items are being met. So it is quite common that we see those requirements in those lease agreements. So we're happy to review those anytime and make our recommendations. So on the last page here, sorry, does that answer that question? Was there anything else on that?
I think that's great. I'll wait for more to come through.
Okay, perfect. So the last page here is just specialist support. So I'll start off kind of on the right with us. So similar to what I was just mentioning, we have brokers here in the office that are always available to assist with any coverage related questions. So our number is there on the screen. You can give us a call if you do want us to review a lease agreement with you. We can do that. If you just wanted to kind of go over the operations of your business, and we can make our recommendations on insurance, or when it comes to actually obtaining the coverage, we can assist you with the process. So we're available anytime to give us a call or send us an email, and we're happy to help. But on the left here is Gowlings, which is another service that you have access to through the program. So this is a pro bono legal hotline. So different from the legal services package, this one is automatically included in the E&O, but this would be for things specifically relating to the services you're offering. If there's privacy and confidentiality, conflict of interest, how to respond to requests for information from a third party, and then ethical and professional obligations are just some examples. So another legal firm that can assist you if you have questions relating to those items there. And then lastly, again, here's just our information. So our phone number, email, again, contact us anytime. We're happy to assist. And the website there will have some information on all the coverages that we went over today. It'll also have the online application is right on that website. So you can just follow that link and just click apply for coverage, and it's right there. And it's kind of a step-by-step process. But we will make sure to share this with everyone as well.
Yeah, perfect. I was just going to add that, you know, your association does have these dedicated contact details. So a broker at the end of the line is aware of your program, kind of works on your program daily. We do have hundreds of members already as part of the insurance program. So we know that there has been questions and we're happy to answer them. So just feel free to reach out to us at any point. There are a few questions that came through, which is great. So I'll jump to those. So one of them is, what is the process to sign an agreement after this presentation? So I presume that's in relation to applying for the insurance. So the last line on this screen here will bring you right into the insurance application. And that will walk you through the process. But if you're a first time applying for the coverage, feel free to give us a call. We can walk you through it as well. The subsequent year, it's a pre-populated application. So instead of refilling out a form, we send you a pre-populated application. So that renewal process is quite easy as well. Okay, Brent, business package question for you from an anonymous attendee. Can the business package cover valuable artwork in the office?
Great
this
question.
This might be a trick question, but I can jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, yeah, we would need to review the specific. Bottom line, yes, we certainly could. Basically, there's a lot of situations where like we have this kind of standard coverage for the E&O, for the CGL, for everything, but whenever there's a unique circumstance, we're able, as the broker, to work with the insurer to make sure everything is met. So if you did have a specific circumstance where you have this valuable artwork that you need coverage, that's where we would just get some more details, and we'd be able to go to the insurer to make sure that that specific component would be covered.
Perfect. Next question. Do you provide services in French and for Quebec?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we have a few French brokers here, and any material that we provide, we have applications, brochures in French. We can answer and speak over the phone with you in French. We're happy to do that anytime.
Perfect. And yeah, so our brokerage is licensed across Canada. So we do work with all the provinces. Obviously, CMC-Canada is a national association. We work with a number of other national associations. So we are licensed across the country. Both Brent and I are licensed in Quebec as well. So yeah, absolutely. You would be speaking to Brent in French more than you'd want to speak with me in French, but we do have a team of bilingual brokers here. So thank you. Great question. Anything else that people are maybe typing or coming through? We do have some time left that we've allotted to questions, but we know sometimes people want to take them offline, but we'll keep the next few minutes open to answer any more.
While we wait, I'll just chime in here. Thank you so much for this presentation today, guys. It's really, really helpful and gives a lot of great information. We'll definitely be following up with everyone with the recording and the presentation and the contact information for you all. So you'll have the right people to get a hold of at BMS if you have any questions or want to sign up with them. And we have our QR code there. Feel free to scan that. That will take you directly to our webpage on our website, or you can go to CMC-Canada website under Affinity Program. Oops, sorry, Gisette, do you want to go back to that other QR code there just so they can make sure that they have some time to scan it if they want to learn more on that program? And before we end today's webinar, we would like to remind you of our upcoming events in August and September. We will be hosting 2 ethical behavior sessions. One's on August 15th and the other on September 28th. And we also have our What's Up Wednesday with CMC Ontario. There's a sports and leadership presentation with Sam Afa on September 13th. And there's a QR code there that can take you right to the events page if you would like to register for any of those upcoming events. We really appreciate everyone joining us today. Again, we'll be following up with an email. If you have any questions, you can always respond to that, but we'll also include all the contact information for BMS. Chelsea and Brent, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate all the information you shared with us. And we hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. Take care, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Allison.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.